Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Okay, hello everybody. So we're back with another episode. This week we are doing our Bees season special. Today we're joined by two players who have become staples of the Berkshire Bees over recent seasons, Captain Stuart Mogg and top British forward Will Stead. It's been a roller coaster campaign for the Bees, a tough start, a mid-season rebuild and a dramatic late surge that gave fans some unforgettable moments. Now, with the season behind them, both Stuart and Will have confirmed they'll be leaving the Bees and making the move to the newly reformed Basingstoke Bison as the club retains the NIHL National Division. First off, Stuart and Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers for having me, mate.
No, absolute pleasure, lads. We appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with us, and obviously be us having the honours of doing your first interview since I moved. And I think the fans wanted to hear what you had to say, so we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to have a chat. So we'll move on into the first segment, and that is going to be reflecting on the 24-25 season in general. So we'll start with the season itself. Like Alex said in the intro, one of the more roller coaster stories of the national division. So when you look back on this, how does it feel, going through those emotions throughout the year? Well, I'll come to you on this one first, if that's all right.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of lows and there was a lot of highs throughout the season. Some big results and then some tough times. But yeah, I think we missed out on the playoffs, so it's a bit upsetting, but I think we gave everything we could as a team.
Stuart, what about you?
Yeah, I think the main goal at the end of the day in everyone's season is to make the postseason, right? It's your chance to try and win some silverware, really. And so, yeah, it was obviously disappointing on that front, but kind of as Will says, we did have some really good results against some of the top teams and stuff like that. But then obviously we had some pretty down times as well. So yeah, big roller coaster of a season. Just wish it had ended in a better way.
Yeah, Aaron, obviously, as we do the podcast with, he's not available tonight, but he's got a right soft spot, and if you like,
yeah,
who is. I don't know if you watched any of the other podcasts, so not to put you on the spot, but he really was showing you guys some love. So, we was constantly shining the torch on you lads to see what you was doing there, but especially when you started coming into that form.
Yeah.
You started to gel and you was picking up results against teams that no one else was touching. So there's something to be said there for what was happening in the dressing room. So just on that, I'll come to you for this one, Stuart, if that's all right. How do you find the dressing room like pulling together? Was when the results were going against you, was it hard to try and keep everybody fine-tuned and on the same page and make sure people don't go off script with stuff?
I think that's probably where you'd expect something like that, but we had a really good room of boys last year, and I think that is like a big difference maker. Really, it makes going to the rink when the times are tough still a joy. Obviously, there's difficult times where you've got to try and keep your head up when the results aren't kind of going your way. But I know that last year we brought Ash in, Ash Tate, and he is someone that is obviously very experienced in the hockey world, and he kind of knows how to talk to people, how to get people motivated and things like that. And I think having someone like him around each week really kind of helped us manage the lows and also manage the highs.
Yeah, because I can imagine it can be quite hard as well. Obviously, we've talked to a lot of people, and this isn't your guys' full-time job. You've obviously got jobs elsewhere that you come back into the ice rink, so you're going to be suffering with a bit of tiredness, fatigue, and stuff. And I can imagine, if you're not having the best of times, that can be quite tough to deal with.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. We just try staying positive all year, and as Moggy said, there's a good group of guys, and having Ash there as well to kind of help us. So yeah, it was good to be around the boys all year, to kind of get away from work, and that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
In terms of going back to what Brad said earlier, we started our podcast around Christmas time, and as like a little segment with to people who obviously were aware of everybody else in the league, we started doing like the standings and stuff and predicting like where we'd come up and stuff, what teams would win and bits and bobs like that, just for a bit of fun. But over the course of the weeks, it became more and more, apparent that you were getting really good results from against teams, and we'll go into those teams later and things like that. But I think, especially around Christmas time, it did seem that you sort of shifted a little bit. Like we said, you got a few lads in, and obviously, well, Vanya obviously left, which seemed like a big loss. But then you got Ralph's in, and like a couple of the other boys, like. So what do you feel like shifted in terms of the group? Because obviously Vanya was obviously a big player for you, but you then actually went on to get some real good results, and like without being disrespectful, at some points it seemed like you were really far away, but actually at the end of the season it was a fantastic achievement for in our perspective for you guys not to be on the bottom.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, when we didn't have many guys, when we were short benched, we were still in most of them games. Like we weren't getting blown away 6-1, 7-1. We were losing games 4-2, 5-3, kind of them sort of games. So then when we added a couple more guys, and we had a couple guys come back from injury, it really helped us, and then it helped us push towards the end of the season. It's just kind of, if we had them guys from the start of the year, I think it would have looked a lot different for us.
Yeah, so as a follow-up to that, I think maybe for you on this one, Stuart, is, we obviously mentioned it seemed to us like it was around the Christmas time that things started clicking into gear and you was getting some results. But is there a game or a particular weekend you remember where you thought, oh, actually we're getting onto something here? We can start picking up some results and building some momentum.
You're asking a lot of me here. I don't normally remember what happened during the day.
Do you remember that Swindon penalty shootout game?
Yeah,
I can't remember when that was though. I don't know.
I remember that as well, because we made a big point of that, didn't we, on the podcast, saying that not many people go to the link and get a result like that.
Yeah, I think we had a stint where we played kind of like them, Leeds, and kind of MK all in like a kind of 2-3 week period, and picked up kind of points in quite a few of the games. And I think obviously we'd beaten Leeds earlier on in the year, so we knew kind of that we had that kind of ability. But I think it's them kind of games that kind of show you that you can beat anyone at any point in the league. I think just to kind of reiterate on what Wills had said, like when at the start of the season when we were short and we were in games, but I think when you look at it from a perspective of playing against a roster of 18, 20 guys, when you've got 12 to 14, by the time you get to the third period, you're pretty gassed. So that's kind of where we lose a game in kind of like the third period, or if we were losing, we didn't have kind of that full fight back to kind of get the final result kind of thing.
Yeah, and just touching on what you said there about any team being able to beat any other team, like from a fan's perspective, that's exactly what it was. We never really went in, and we're Seahawks fans, but we never really went into any game thinking, this should be a walkover. Every team was competitive on their night, so like from a fan perspective, it was made for great entertainment. I can only imagine as a player, like it either gives you some fuel to know, like, okay, you might be sat somewhere near the bottom, but you're not actually that far from being somewhere near the top.
And I think you actually hit the nail on the head there, Will, in terms of you saying when you got a few extra players in, you've probably got what you deserved, in terms of results, because it's so true. Like, you are right. When you're with 12, 14 men and against 4 lines of hockey and young lads who are, only playing in the third period to sort of see games out, it's a massive ask, isn't it? But when you got the lads in, obviously that was evident with the results that you got.
Yeah, it was. There was some tough few weeks. I think me and you both, Moggy, have done that a couple seasons ago as well, haven't we? Gone to games with like 12. I think there was a Swindon game. We had like 4D and like 6 forwards or something. I think with the whole game, we just literally we just kind of like shut up shop, didn't we? I think this was a few years ago. Dom basically coached us just to sit and basically let them play like they're on a power play and try to block every shot and then try to get on the kind of counter attack. And I think we were quite close in that game, but I don't think we won it in the end.
But like, just coming on to some of your bigger wins, you beat both Leeds and MK at home, which was massive. Some of the top 2 teams in the league for right up until the end of the season, you managed to go away or them come to you and take points from them. So what did them wins do for your morale? Especially in front of your home crowd, I can imagine that was pretty phenomenal, really.
Yeah, well, obviously it's massively boosting it. It shows that there is like the fight there, that you can beat anyone. I think like that's like the key message you get from it. It's like, if you can beat these teams, surely you can kind of beat anyone else, right? They're the 2 teams at the top that are beating teams week in, week out, and I think
convincingly.
Yeah.
That's what we struggled with, wasn't it? It's kind of like, I feel like we as a team, we'd turn up to them games, but we needed to make sure we turned up to every other game. And I think sometimes, I don't know what it was, but we had to really try and make sure, right, just because we're not playing Leeds, MK, Swindon, doesn't mean we can change the way we play or decide to play a different way. So that was one of the big issues we were having throughout the year.
We had a phrase that kept coming up when we was doing our predictions for the podcast, and it was just bees at home.
Genuinely as well, like every week we had like 15 podcasts where it was doing these predictors, and easily 12, 13 of them was like, you can't bet against the bees at home, and that was like a genuine thing. As every week, back to you at home, every week without fail. And
even other players we've spoken to, like Tyler said, your guys' rink is one of the hardest, to come up and try and get a result at.
Nerf Salem did as well, actually. He compared the Phantoms to the Bees this year. He was like, we're like the Bees. He said, we're gritty and we grind out games and get physical, and that's how we play. And I think that's a massive compliment to you, considering, where those teams went and what they did.
I think with how the rink is, it's quite a small pad. And we played a game that suited that pad, really. We trapped a lot of teams in the neutral zone, and that was kind of our plan for most of the season, really, was to try and stop teams at the blue line and make them dump the puck so we could get it back, kind of thing. And that helped us then to keep scores low, limit chances for other teams. And then, I mean, if we got a few goals in, then we were giving ourselves a chance to take the points off the big teams. It works well against the big teams because they want to carry the puck more.
Yeah, I've got so used to playing in that small pad now, and now going over to Bison, it's quite bigger, isn't it? So, because obviously before at Bracknell it was a big pad as well, which I liked then, and then it went to Slough, and I was like, I don't like the small pad. Got used to a small pad, and now obviously going back to a bigger one. So I'm gonna have to figure that out again.
It's keeping you on top of your game, though, isn't it? I just wanted to touch as well, like, obviously you say that there has been low points and things like that, but again, you didn't finish bottom. You finished second bottom, and I think at one point there was quite a large gap between you and 10th, wasn't there? So given obviously that, and the circumstances that you had in the first half of the season where you didn't have as many men as and pretty much any other team in the league, to me, I'd feel a lot of pride in that. But how do you sort of feel the same, and do you take the season as someone to be proud of? I know it's disappointing not to make playoffs, but in the grand scheme of things,
I wouldn't say proud, because it's just like our goal was playoffs. No matter what situation we were put in, we wanted to make playoffs. So I wouldn't say we're proud, but I feel like the team kind of gave everything they could kind of give in the situations we were in. So that's probably what I got to say.
Yeah, so we'll move on slightly to sort of your own game, your leadership and your personal growth. And if you don't mind, we'll start with you, Stuart. Obviously wearing the C for the club, you take a lot of responsibility. You know, you want to lead by example. I'm assuming. How much did that responsibility mean to you during some of the more challenging times of the year? And did you feel you had to sort of overcome any personal blocks that you thought, okay, maybe I'm going to have to take this to the next level to try and get the best out of the guys?
So I kind of probably envisage myself as quite a quiet leader, to be fair, but someone that is very professional. I'm kind of like one of the first people to the rink every week, and I'm one of the last to leave, which annoyed Wills this year because he came with me a lot of the year.
Yeah, we travelled together and we'd be at the ring like an hour and a bit before the game. I'm like, I went the year before. I used to travel with my brother, and we used to turn up half hour before every practice, and then I started coming with Mogg in. It's like an hour and 10 minutes before everything.
But yeah, I mean, there's obviously been challenging times this year and in previous years. Over that kind of, I've been the captain now for 6 seasons, including the very small COVID Cup campaign thing. And yeah, I think obviously it was a massive honour for that kind of time period. And there has been times of adversity for sure. I mean, when you're not a winning team and results aren't going your way, it's all about trying to kind of keep the peace and boost the boys up as much as possible kind of each week, and making sure that everyone kind of remains as positive as possible. Obviously, it's not an easy task. People do struggle, and it's just about kind of making sure that people are ready, focused for each game during periods and things like that.
Yeah, managing people's hard, isn't it, mate? So is there a particular moment that you feel most proudest of then season, or anyone in particular in the team that you thought really went maybe above and beyond or exceeded expectations?
Well, like player wise, who kind of shocked me, like who kind of stood up.
Any moment in the season where you thought, what, this is something to go away and be proud of, or anyone where you thought, he's really stepped up his game and probably partly responsible for that.
Yeah, I don't really have a moment, but someone me and Moggy travel with, Ty Cathcart, the seasons before he was on a 2-way, and then I think the coaches trusted him to kind of make that step up, and he really I think he shocked a lot of the guys how well we kind of took that in his stride. So yeah, I thought he had a really good year, and at the end of the awards night he won most improved, which I think he deserved.
That's class. Going over to you then, Will. Obviously, despite the circumstances, you've had a really good season. 26 goals, 16 assists. You've led the British scoring for the Bees this year, most points by a Brit. Obviously, that was evidenced by Brit of the Year, Forward of the Year. You had a good awards night. But you played a really important role for the Bees. Sorry. And obviously at times towards the end of the season you was playing with Dom and Marcel, but also through the season with Adam and a bunch of other people. What do you think about this season really clicked in terms of your goal scoring? I know that this will be a big compliment to you, but when it was announced that you guys was left, there was quite a few people on social media saying whoever picks up Will Stead will be like much better for it. So, I mean, that's a massive compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I saw a few of the kind of what people said, and it's obviously great to hear things like that. For me, I think last 2 seasons I was in and out of playing D and forward, and I kind of said to Dom and Ash at the start of the year that I'm playing forward this year because I kind of believed in myself and what I knew I could kind of bring to the team, and yeah, so Dom and kind of Ash trusted me to play forward all year, and then I kind of played with Dom for a while now, and whenever I was kind of playing forward, like coming back from a D, I was playing with him quite a bit. So we obviously kind of knew how to play with each other, and then adding Marcel to that as well. The two experienced imports in the league kind of helped me a lot.
And obviously, you two, just moving on slightly, this is a question for both of you to answer. You've both spent big chunks of your careers in Bees jerseys. So how do you reflect on your own personal development with your time at the club? And for you, Will, follow-up question to that. Do you feel like you leave a more complete player there than when you arrived? And for you, Stuart, what part of your game or mindset has grown the most in your time there?
I'll go first. So yeah, it's been 7 years now since I joined the Bees. So kind of quite a lot of my senior hockey career, I suppose, has been spent with the Bees in their various names now. But yeah, I think development-wise over kind of that time period, I think I've gained kind of a lot of confidence, especially. I think from kind of the onset in Bracknell, when I first moved over there was a lot more kind of trust putting myself in defence. I think when I was in Basingstoke before, we had a much more senior D-corps when I was there. So kind of moving across to Bracknell, where I was more trusted in kind of every situation, that's kind of helped me develop in kind of power play and having the confidence in that, and then penalty kill as well, which I mean I take quite a lot of pride in. I mean I think we were the second best penalty kill this year in the league, and I played a lot of that.
Stay up for like 2 minutes sometimes on the PK, wouldn't you?
So yeah, I think kind of that personal development wise, just building confidence in the game. And I mean, I'm going to be 31 when the season starts this year, but I still feel like each year I'm getting better. I don't think, like when I look back, I feel like I'm not at like a point of like plateauing in my skill or anything like that. I feel like each year I get more and more confident and continue to grow.
So it's fair to say then, we're not going to see the back of you anytime soon.
Nah, probably not.
Shooting for the stars with the Bison. That's what I love to hear. What about you then, Will? Obviously, you've spent all of your career practically as a bee in any of those forms, sort of thing. How was that? How was that sort of move? And obviously you owe a lot to the organisation, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Doug gave me the opportunity when I was like 21 to kind of step up from Bracknell's second team to play for the Bees. I originally was, because that season Doug was he was at Basingstoke, and I originally was going to go join him with my brother at Basingstoke, but then he moved to Bracknell, so we both stayed in Bracknell with Doug. So yeah, I'm grateful he gave me that opportunity to kind of step up, and kind of every year since then I've just been trying to improve each season. Each season my kind of role changed. When I was 21 I was young and playing as like a 10 forward most weeks and not getting as much ice time, but you just got to try to stay positive, and then also playing on not really kind of playing on that third line. It's got to play a different ways than if you're playing on the first and second. So I was just trying to go out there, bring some energy in the early kind of years, and then as I got older and as I learned and grew as a player, I had more opportunities to play on a first and second line and play with top guys and try score some goals and get some assists and create opportunities for people.
Like you did then.
Yeah, to be honest, this year I've got quite a few goals, and that's not normally what I specialise in doing. I think a couple of years ago I got a lot of assists, so hopefully I can try next year do goals and assists.
But yeah, watch this space.
I did fact check it before the interview, and last season was your best goal scoring. I think you got about 50 points, not last season, but the season before. So yeah, that's fantastic. But I think goals, especially, are really important. When you've said at the start of the season, I want to play as a forward, and you've sort of you've proved your worth, sort of thing there, haven't you? So again, that's a massive testament to you.
Yeah, I just made sure I went to the net so I could tap them in. When let Dom and Bally do all the hard work.
Sign of a good forward. That every team needs one, don't they?
Yeah, do you know what? People don't give you enough credit as well. We played ball hockey like a couple of times for a laugh, and it was an absolute car crash. Don't know how you do it, to be honest.
Yeah, big time. You lads make it look easy, and you're on ice having to skate and stuff like that. We was in trainers and was a mess.
So all right, we'll move on then back into the nitty gritty really, and what all of the fans are going to be out there wondering. So again, this question for both of you. You've both now confirmed your departure from the Bees, so we want to know how hard was that decision, especially how connected you've both been at the club, and what emotions came from when you've realised that you're officially going to be moving on from that franchise.
You go first, Mogg.
Yeah, so for me, it was a really difficult decision to make. Obviously, I've played for the Bees for 7 years, but I mean, the person that brought me to the Bees was Shep, and I'd played for Shep for 6 years before that as well.
Yeah.
So kind of like I've had a real kind of affinity with Shep for that kind of whole time period, even though he's kind of obviously not in that coaching role anymore, but he's still obviously part of the club.
Yeah.
So he's kind of been there with me throughout my kind of whole hockey journey, really. So I think the decision to move away was a tough one. There was a lot of kind of conversations with my family on that as well, to whether to make kind of that right decision and like what's going to be best for me, for my family, and kind of quality of life as well, and being able to spend more time at home with my child and things like that. But then obviously really difficult conversation to have, telling someone that you've been with for 12 years of your life that you're going to be moving away from the team and things like that. But I think a lot of kind of respect was shown from both sides on the decision and things like that. And I mean, props to Shep as well. He's never the person that would hold someone back or kind of manipulate it in that any way. He was really respectful with me on kind of all of that as well, and just sent me off with his best wishes.
Do you think ice hockey fans realise that size of it all the time? You said about spending more time with your family, which is really important, and things. Obviously, I know that the Bees fans will be really disappointed for you to go, but there was a lot of people. I've seen a few comments being like, I can't believe this has happened. But do you think fans in general see the full picture?
I think more do than you probably realise, especially in kind of like a smaller club atmosphere.
Yeah,
I think potentially in a bigger team, fans may not understand as much because they see it as a much more kind of like professional commitment. And obviously I see it in that way, but I think when I put my post out about kind of thanking everyone, I had a lot of comments saying that it was kind of like, we understand like what you're doing for your family and things like that. And I think there was a lot of kind of love that way from it. Whereas I think, yeah, there's obviously always going to be disappointment and people kind of shocked at the decision, especially kind of after how much time you give to a team. But then I think the people that know you and the fans that you've interacted with and that have like met my family and stuff, they understand it a lot more from kind of a personal aspect.
Yeah. And again, that sort of speaks to the testament of the Bees sort of organisation itself, doesn't it? And how tight knit that is. And again, that just reiterates the point in which that you said it was a really tough decision. And obviously, by your response there, we can see how heartfelt that is. How hard was that for you, Will, in terms of the decision to leave?
Yeah, leaving was tough for me. Kind of the Bees is as an organisation, has kind of been a massive part of my family for a long time. Like kind of with my brother playing there, and I also had an uncle who played for the Bees for a while. So it was tough, but I just think with everything that was kind of going on and where I am at my stage in kind of my career, I don't know how much longer I want to kind of play for. So I just want to kind of have a new challenge, something different. And I think that was with Basingstoke coming back was a great opportunity, and kind of saw it as there's a real opportunity for them to have a really good team there, and speak to Steve. And I think we will have a pretty solid team there. So I'm kind of looking forward to that for sure.
And obviously, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for these clubs, which we've seen firsthand. The volunteers and the staff and that are play a massive part in it. So, what's it meant to you? Is there a message you'd like to say to Bees fans, the staff, the volunteers, everyone that helps make it run on your final farewell?
Yeah, there's a lot of people behind the scenes who put a lot of effort in to basically running the whole thing. And I think it goes unnoticed by a lot of kind of people around the league. It goes unnoticed on how much kind of time and effort they and even money spent putting into making these clubs work. So I just want to say thank you to everyone throughout my kind of time at the Bees for being there. Everyone who just kind of around the rink would say hello and just kind of make it's like such a nice kind of club to be at, and a nice area and like a nice place to go to every week. So yeah, I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for everything that everyone in that club has done for me.
Great. And you, Stuart?
Yeah, there's probably too many people to say thank you to list them all off. But I mean, obviously the directors do it for nothing. They're there to keep the club alive and keep it running on a day-to-day basis. They're not trying to fill their pockets with money or anything like that. So I think a massive props to kind of all of them for how they've treated us over that time period. They're all very friendly, and they come in and they're happy to kind of speak to you and everything like that. I think obviously the supporters club does a really good job there, raise a lot of money for the team and doing everything like that to again keep the club running year on year. And yeah, the fans, it's a very much a family atmosphere there. Like anyone, you could speak to anyone in that rink and anyone's going to be willing to speak to you. The kids that come to the games and everything, they're all so happy to kind of have that interaction. So yeah, it's been a great 7 years, and I wouldn't change anything for the world, to be fair. So yeah, thank you to all the Bees fans. It's been an absolute pleasure.
That's great to hear.
It's awesome, isn't it?
So we'll move on then to. We've moved past the Bees. That's it. Gone, done. You've left.
Not as brutal as that, Jesus.
And now we're on to the Bison, the Basingstoke Bison. So first and foremost, we just want to say as a fan, it's great to see Basingstoke back in the league. Where we was massive fans of when they were in the league. And we've got a lot of players that have played for Basingstoke in the past. So great to see that it's come back. Happy to see the building a pretty decent roster as well at the moment. How do you both feel for that?
I'm excited. Really excited. I'm excited for the new challenge. Like I said earlier, a lot of the boys there. I've played with everyone who's kind of been announced so far, and I know there's a lot of quality so far in that dressing room. There's like a really good core of brick guys. So if we can just add some top imports, which Steve said we definitely will be, and then he's going to appoint a coach as well, then I think we could be very strong this season.
It really sounds exciting, to be fair. And like Brad said, you're going to be familiar with the guys that are there because the league does have a lot of Bison, ex-Bison players and things like that. So I think it's going to be great, the fact that, you know, they've not been out of the league too long and that everyone's still active and things like that. So this seemed like the right step then. What made it seem like the right step now is that, again, I'll come to you first, Stuart. Was it the new challenge? I know there was obviously factors off the ice, but there has to be motivating factors on the ice as well.
Yeah, I think definitely the new challenge. I think that there's a great, as Will said, a great core already. But it's the ability to be kind of closer to home and things like that. Obviously, you said about things on the ice, but I'll be a lot of honesty. Like, a lot of the decision initially when I was chatting to my family was being so much closer to home. And
Yeah.
the trip to Slough for me is nearly an hour, and the trip
Gonna
to
miss
the
travelling with me,
so-
now I got to drive by myself. Human.
and the trip to the rink in Basingstoke takes me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you do that back and forth 8 times in a week, it all adds up. But yeah, I think so. I mean, it piqued my interest to start with, and then I spoke with Steve and the kind of vision that he had and what he wants to kind of build straight off the bat and things like that made it very exciting. And I think getting back to kind of Basingstoke and having kind of what looks like the opportunity to make playoffs, challenge for some silverware, just I mean, that's what you play hockey for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we said, from a fan perspective, it's really good to see him back in the league. But that's not just coming from us. There was a moment at the Coventry Final 4 weekend where it was announced that Basingstoke was coming back into the league, and every fan base, every club's fan base was buzzing with it. There was a massive cheer around the arena, and yeah, it feels like a great step for the league. It's just going to be a shame, obviously, if the Bees can't move forward in this league. It's going to be a shame that we're going to be another team down, but nevertheless, buzzing to see the Basingstoke Bison back. Have you already feeling the sort of buzz around? Have you been speaking to the guys who have already confirmed as signed up, and you feeling like you're really building something from the ground up now?
Yeah, we got a players kind of group chat going already. So there's a bit of banter flying around in there.
I'd love to be in that group.
me and Zach have already been going at it. So yeah, but it should be quite fun when we get going.
Yeah, I think I went to the fan event the other day on whatever day it was. I lose track of days. Tuesday, I think it was, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was very last minute, but I didn't expect there to be that many people there. I think, like, walking into the room and there being kind of 250, 300 people in the room, I think just kind of sparks what Basingstoke was like and kind of the loyal fan base that they have, and that even with 2 years gone, they're all still there. Their love of hockey is still there, and like, that was really exciting to see, and the buzz in there when Steve was announcing things and kind of reeling off like the new logo and everything like that, and kind of the engagement from people was really good to see as well. But yeah, as Will said as well, we got the group chat going, and I think the boys are excited already.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing in front of that kind of Bison fan base from a home kind of perspective, because playing away, I used to love going to that rink and playing away and just going there and trying to win and trying to wind that fan base up or do anything we can, because they're so loud. They're so loud in that rink. So we try quiet them as soon as we could, but when they get going, they don't stop, and they're just chanting, and they're so loud throughout the whole game. So I'm looking forward to kind of playing in that kind of atmosphere as kind of a home player. So
When I saw the video, Anthony Russell obviously had put a video on. He slipped in the back, but even the signing videos that the Bison put on, and of all the fans in there, I thought they're really on something here, and it is a massive testament for Planet Ice keeping the Bison involved and stuff. But is it sort of like you say, there's a new logo, they're going more green now? Then it does seem like a new exciting thing. Like, is there an element there as well where like you're sort of excited to be part of the new chapter, the new look, like making that initial history or rehistory, sort of, if that's a word, of the group, like being part of that initial comeback, like that's got to be exciting as well.
You got this one, I got this one.
Yeah, well, I think like Steve's come in, and I think it's like it's their team now, right? They're making it their own, and that rebrand kind of symbolizes a bit of that. It's still the Basingstoke Bison, but with a different twist to it. I know obviously they played in green. Well, they had a bit of green, I think, in their kind of last couple of years in Basingstoke, and then kind of dates back to when I was watching Basingstoke when I was like 6 years old in the Elite League days when they first brought in the green gear. But yeah, being part of that kind of new era is something exciting. It's kind of back to kind of put your stamp on things and kind of show what kind of impact you can make.
Yeah.
Do you? And you touched earlier, obviously, about the lads that you're going to be in there with, and there's obviously Liam and Hallam that you both played this year with, but also you've both said that you've played with George and Tom and people like that, and obviously Jack's come from Manchester. He's been playing the Elite League this year, which is really exciting. Like, do you think that with having familiar faces and obviously those players who've played for the Bison before, so obviously it mean a little bit more to them, do you think that that'll help to sort of hit the ground running, sort of thing, having those familiar faces around?
Yeah, it's kind of new for me as well, kind of going to that rink. So I think having like boys who have kind of played at the club before, being there will definitely help me. Moggy's played there, and Norks and Zach and Hallam and Mo, they've all kind of played there. So yeah, that definitely will help me, and I'm kind of excited to kind of get going.
So on that note then, lads, we're coming towards the end of this. So just want to know, is there anything for the Basingstoke fans you want to say?
No, you go first, Moggy.
I'm really excited to be back. Obviously, I've been away for 7 years, but I had probably some of the best ice hockey moments of my life in Basingstoke. So we won 6 trophies while I was here last time, and all I want to do is get back to that and lift some silverware.
Mm-hmm.
And you will?
Yeah, it's kind of what Moggy said. I'm excited to kind of play in front of that fan base. I'm going to give everything I can to kind of bring back them trophies that Moggy said that were there, and that's one of the reasons I kind of come to Bison, because I generally think that the way the club will go, and the kind of the players and the ambition is to be back there. So that's something I'd like to experience. So that's why I want to play there. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's great. Well, Stuart, Will, thank you both for being such brilliant guests. I'm sure the Bees fans will be sad to see you go, but equally, Basingstoke fans will be buzzing to see you enter. It's clear how much you meant to the Bees fans, and I'm sure the Bison fans will welcome you with open arms. Good luck on your travels. We'll be watching close by and making sure you guys are living up to what you've said on this. No, we are really interested, and congratulations to you both.
Yeah, thanks.